8 months of hard work for it all to be ruined. Hey, I'm Natalie, and welcome to the Dyslexia and Adults podcast. I believe that dyslexia is holding you back in your career and impacting your daily life, and ultimately slowly chipping away at your confidence. And I just simply don't think that that is good enough. I don't care when you were diagnosed, if your boss is a total dick, or if, like me, you roll your eyes heavily when dyslexia is called a superpower. I know I can change how you feel about your brain. I have a client story today that I know so many of you are going to relate to. So I started working with this particular client 6 months ago, and everything was really difficult. They were in a really tough place. And when we started working together, we started building out strategies, ways of working, things that really helped him manage his dyslexia well. But more than that, we started building out how to talk to his boss about dyslexia, what his boss needed to do, and how it would work effectively to make sure that he was getting the support he needed. Everyone was happy. He felt like he was doing a good job and getting the support he needed, and his boss was communicating clearly and effectively and getting the most out of his employee. It's all sounding pretty good, right? And you're thinking, Natalie, I don't really relate much to this story. Now, the boss changes, and that is where everything goes awry. Unfortunately, the new boss didn't have a lot of understanding about dyslexia and how it worked, and unfortunately was a little bit chaotic and disorganized themselves. So, I want you to imagine my client, everything for the first time in his life is going well. And then the boss changes, and he's struggling to understand what's happening in meetings again. He's struggling to understand what is expected of him because he's not processing things correctly. All of this because the style has changed in how the boss is communicating. Nightmare, right? Just when you start to feel like everything is going well, a new boss comes in and they aren't breaking things down correctly for you, or they're rambling way too much, or just jamming so much information into a 30-minute meeting that you're left feeling like you've just come off a merry-go-round. You're just like, whoa, that was a lot of information and I'm feeling really lost. So the biggest challenge that my client was facing is that all of this information was just getting thrown at them with no context, no explanation, way too much coming at them way too quickly. And because of working memory challenges and processing speed with dyslexia, it can feel really overwhelming when people just pepper you with lots of information. The truth is, we can process any amount of information, but it's about how quickly we can process that information. A lot of the times, because we're actually processing way more than the average person, that is starting to slow down our processing speeds. Okay, let's step back and put this another way. I want you to think about all of the information a computer can handle. It's a shed load. But if you open 45 tabs in 3 different windows, it's going to start to slow down. And that's exactly what is going on with our dyslexia. We need to be able to manage the amount of information that is coming at us at once. It's not that we can't, it's just that we can't when it's an unreasonable amount. Now, thinking about the tip, what I said to my client is exactly what I want to say to you. I can give you every strategy in the world to process information, to allow you to understand what is going on. But if it is getting thrown at you at 1,000,000 miles an hour, it's not going to work. You have to learn to be able to control the conversation confidently to be able to allow information to come in at your speed. So I want you to get used to having different phrases and different ways of saying you need the information to come at you differently, or you need time to be able to process what is going on. A few examples of this might be, okay, that makes sense. Please can you follow up on an email because I want to make sure I haven't missed anything and I've got all the details correctly. Or maybe, hey, can I just repeat what I've heard because I really want to make sure that I've got everything and that it really makes sense to me. Simple things like this can go a really long way to help control the conversation and allow you to feel like you aren't being a burden because you just need to slow it down a little bit. Now, the reframe I want to offer you is actually the most important part of this week's episode. It is about helping you understand that controlling the conversation, allowing things to be slowed down, isn't you being a burden. It's you being committed to doing a good job. And by showcasing that commitment and showing that you really just want to get the information and get it done right the first time is the thing you should actually be really proud of. And that's why it's confidently controlling the conversation, because you're saying, if you do this for me, I will do a good job, or I will get it right the first time, or I will be quicker. Whatever it is that they're looking for is what you want to focus on, because it isn't a burden to get these things right the first time. Bottom line, you're not slow, you're strategic. Slow down the conversation and you'd be amazed at how quickly things fall into place. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Dyslexia in Adults podcast. Whether or not this is your first listen or your 100th, I am so grateful that you decided to entrust me with this challenge. If you enjoyed this week's episode, I would really appreciate it if you could review and subscribe to the podcast, because it really helps us to reach more people.